What's up, everybody? It's February the 23rd. It's a Tuesday. It's a 9-game, big slate. I'm back again with another one of these NBA DFS videos. It's Billy Briz. Make sure you follow me over on Twitter at Getting Bills. And if you're looking for a book, use mybookie.ag, promo code PubSports for 50% bonus on your cash deposit. Must be a minimum of $99 and 100% bonus on a Bitcoin deposit, minimum of $100. First things first, man. I had a really good Monday, really good GPP plays. Stacked that Washington LA game. The game went into overtime, really helped me out. Faded some of the early games, played a couple pieces like Daniel House. It was a really good night, man. I'm glad to run it back tonight. Tonight, I think I'm going to play a little bit more cash games. The fact that it's a 9-game slate feels like a little bit more cash game than GPPs. Last night, the GPP and the cash lines were basically the exact same. So that's the reason why I didn't play any cash. But let's get into this first game. This first game is Atlanta versus Cleveland. Atlanta 7-point favorites over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Over under here is 227.5. There are some news that we're looking for Atlanta Hawks. Cam Reddish right now is currently questionable. If he were to miss, that would really pop up the wing guys like Dalano Gallinari, who's $4,600 and $4,800. Also, Kevin Herter as well, $5,300 and then $5K flat on DK. He's been in a shooting slump. He's only hit 1 3 per game in 5 out of his last 6 games. But if Reddish were to miss, he would get a bump up in minutes and play a minimum of 30 minutes. So that definitely seems like a good cash and GPP play today. Clint Capella also as well. He has had 6 straight double-doubles and draws a solid matchup against the Cavs. But on the Cavs side, man, I'm looking at a couple of the younger guys on the Cavs. Andre Drummond is potentially about to be traded, so it really pops up a couple of the bigs on the Cavs. I don't really want to play JaVale McGee. He's going to pop up in the projection systems at $3,600, especially on FD. But personally, I don't really want to play him. Jared Allen, though, $7,600. He's recorded a double-double in 5 out of his last 6 games and benefits without Andre Drummond and shows a lot of upside. And then Darius Garland also as well. He has 20 points in 2 of his last 4 games and gives you some steals upside at that price tag. Overall, though, not a game that I'm looking to stack, but definitely could be some potential cash game options on that game. The second game is real ugly, but you're going to have to play. It's Detroit Pistons versus the Orlando Magic. A lot of chalky pieces from this game coming from both websites. Detroit is 3-point underdogs here, 208.5 over under. That's like a high school basketball over under, man. Looking at the Orlando side, I really like Michael Carter-Williams on FanDuel today, $4,500. Seems like a really good price tag. Wouldn't play him over on DK at $5,500. Nikolai Vucevic, though, $9,900 and $10,200. If you're looking for player props also as well, I do like Vucevic. He's been utterly dominant of recent. 30-plus points in 3 of his last 5 games. He's been really benefiting without Aaron Gordon and rookie Cole Anthony being on the floor. Also, Al-Farouq Aminu, kind of a throwback type of player, but he's almost at bare minimum price on DK, and then he's bare minimum price on FD tonight. He could be potential value. There's not a lot of value on this slate so far. Really lackluster day worth of news, but it's the NBA COVID season, so we're going to get some news later on in the day. Shouts to the people that are joining me right now. I'm looking at the chat right now. Shouts to Jacksonville Zoe, the VP, listening to the plays tonight. Yeah, man, I saw you guys call that college basketball game last night. Always fun to call a Mac McClung game, one of my favorite upcoming players in this draft class. Mill says play Fox from Sacramento. Yeah, we're going to get there. It's one of my favorite games of the day. Overall, that's the reason why I'm going to play cash and GPPs today. I feel like cash games, I don't need to get there, but GPPs, I feel like that game, it just seems like an obvious stack. Dallas, though, this is the first TNT game of the night, nationally televised. Boston is 1-point favorites over the Dallas Mavericks. Over under here is 225. And 225 flat. Pretty interesting game. We got some news last night that Kristaps is going to miss in the first half of it back-to-back, but I kind of expected that last night. It seems like he would play in the nationally televised game and sit the game that doesn't really matter as much. But Kristaps Porzingis, Projection systems don't really have him in yet. That's probably like afternoon news. He's listed as questionable, but I expect him to play tonight. I think he's a really good GPP play, $7,800, $8,200. I don't think people are going to go there. I think he'll be sub 10% ownership. Luka Doncic also as well, second game of a back-to-back for him, but he always has triple-double and double-double upside. I wouldn't say one of my favorite studs of the day, but if he comes in at too low for ownership, he can always blow away that price tag. The next game that we're going to talk about is the Golden State Warriors. They're 2.5-point favorites over the New York Knicks. Over under here is 220. It's really hard to break down this Warriors team without this Curry news. Curry's listed as questionable, but man, I really don't trust that after what happened last week where he got ruled out like 5 minutes after the game. So I need to see an official lineup from the Golden State Warriors. And more than likely, regardless of what the lineup is, if Curry's in, I'm probably not going to play anybody from this game. But if he's out, I think that will open up potential value on the Warriors. On the Knicks side, though, only two guys I'm really liking. The two people that benefit with Mitchell Robinson being out of the lineup, Julius Randle. He gets a good matchup against the Warriors. The Warriors are still missing their rookie, James Wiseman. I don't know where his ownership is going to fall today, but I think people are going to overlook that matchup for Julius Randle today. Still a pretty cheap price tag throughout the websites. Also, Nerlens Noel, $5,300. He could be in a good buy low window tonight. Biggest beneficiary of the Mitch Robinson news, $5,300. Not really a lot of value on this slate. So paying down for Nerlens Noel is actually considered a value how this slate is going so far. Toronto versus Philly. Philly's 2-point favorites. Over under here is 224.5. Not a game that I'm really too interested in. It seems like a bad matchup for Toronto, and Fred VanVleet would be the only guy that I'm interested in at the shooting guard position on FanDuel. But with Kyle Lowry back, that kind of really takes me off of all the Raptors players in general. On the Philadelphia side, this is just a price tag for me. Seth Curry's $4,000 on FanDuel. That seems like a little bit too cheap of a price tag. Not a lot of value on this slate, kind of going to be like the theme of this video. So you're going to have to create the value for yourself, kind of play some guys that are going to come off the bench or don't have a high amount of usage. Like Curry, my projection for him right now is only like 13 to 15 points and not a lot of contributing in the other different categories. But the way this slate's looking like, you're going to have to play a guy like Seth Curry in cash or GPPs to get some value in, to get the studs, because there's a lot of studs. Like this next game, Sacramento versus the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets are 6.5-point favorites. Over under by far the highest on the board tonight, 242. One of my favorite games of the night to play. On this King side of the ball, De'Aaron Fox, like Mills said, is going to be a good play today. Since the knee injury, though, the only concern would be he hasn't really showed a ceiling in the scoring department. He's been productive, but he hasn't really cracked that 30-plus point ceiling that I really want to play out of my point guards and stuff like that, especially if I'm paying that $7,900 price tag on this slate where we don't have a lot of value. Going down a little bit more, though, in the Sacramento Kings, I really like Tyrese Halliburton. He's $6,300, $6,500. Barnes is listed as questionable. He would be a benefit if Barnes were to miss, but regardless, I still like Tyrese Halliburton. I think this is a smash spot for the rookie. I think there's upside for him in both cash and GPPs, but I don't think the ownership is going to be there for cash, so I think he grades out as a pretty good GPP play. And then when I run it back with the Brooklyn Nets, there's only really three guys that I really have in consideration right now. James Harden's at $11,000, and he's playing at an absurd level right now, and I think people are just kind of underestimating how good James Harden has been really playing, because I've been playing him in GPPs and he's been absolutely smashing for me, and he hasn't really reached over 15% ownership, and KD has still been out these last couple of games. I really like James Harden. He's running the point guard position. This seems like one of the best matchups on the board today against the Sacramento Kings. They don't play defense. The Nets don't play defense. It seems like just a great game environment for James Harden, and I expect him to keep the good times rolling tonight. Kyrie Irving also as well. His price tag got a little suppressed a little bit, $8,800 on both websites, DK and FanDuel. Let me just check that to make sure on FanDuel. I really do like Kyrie Irving, though. One of my favorite stud options of the day for GPPs, not for cash games. But if he's going to be sub 10 against the Kings, I just got to play it, man. Bruce Brown also as well. He's been benefiting from this KD being out and him being in the starting lineup. $4,600, $4,500 could be a pretty good value in a game stack situation scenario. The next game here is Minnesota versus Milwaukee. I kind of like how these two games are back-to-back. These are where a lot of the studs are coming from today. Minnesota and Milwaukee. Milwaukee's 10.5-point favorites. Over-under is 231 here. Pretty high over-under, but a pretty big point spread also as well. Chris Middleton, he had a great bounce-back game against the Kings. The T-Wolves draws another good matchup tonight. I could definitely see myself playing Chris Middleton at $7,200. The price tag keeps on going down. $8,400 on DK seems like a little bit more fadeable, definitely fadeable for GPPs. For cash games, though, on FanDuel, I could definitely see myself playing Chris Middleton. Giannis Antetokounmpo is $11,300 and $11,000 flat on DK. I like his DK price tag a little bit better than the FD price tag. The price tag is kind of cheap considering the studs that we have on this slate, but I think he should be the most expensive price tag on the board. I think that falls to Luka. On FanDuel, he is the most expensive player on the board, but on DK, he's not. And because of that, I think that's kind of somewhat of a value tonight. Anthony Edwards, though, if I had to pick one guy to run it back from the Minnesota Timberwolves, even though it seems like he's hit a rookie wall, it seems like a really good matchup for Anthony Edwards to get minutes. If the game was close, he would be productive in it. And then if the game blew out, I feel like he would get minutes as well, because this is a 10.5-point favorites for the Milwaukee Bucks. If you want to go to GPPs, I could definitely see myself playing some Bobby Portis as a way off the wall play, but at 10.5-point favorites, I really don't see how Minnesota keeps this game close. Minnesota has been, I think, is one of the worst teams in the league, in my personal opinion. Portland, though, they're taking on Denver. This is, I think, the second national televised game of the night is Portland versus Denver. Denver is 8-point favorites over the Portland Trailblazers. Over under here is 230.5. Nikolai Jokic is one of my favorite stud options of the day on FanDuel. His $10,500 price tag seems a little bit too cheap for GPPs. I think this is a good matchup for him. He's pretty familiar with the Portland Trailblazers, and especially without Nurkic being in there and Kanter guarding him, I think Kanter's a pretty good offensive player, but I have questions about his defense abilities, especially against a guy like Nikola Jokic, who just seems to roast every matchup in the league as long as it's not in the athletic center, and Kanter doesn't really fit that bill. So I think Nikolai Jokic is going to go overlooked today. He'll probably be around 20%, and I can see him playing him on DK as well, where his ownership is going to be a little bit cheaper. Michael Porter Jr. also as well is going to pop up in the projection systems today. I like him in the mid-range on both websites, FanDuel and DK, $5,700 and $6,200. Overall, that's really what I'm looking at from the Denver Nuggets. From the Portland Trailblazers, I kind of like Damian Lillard a little bit if you're looking to game stack this. Also, Derrick Jones Jr. could be a suppressed price tag on FanDuel, not DK. His DK price tag is a little bit priced up. And then I keep on going to Trent Jr. in the mid-range option. Hasn't really worked out for me these last couple of slates, but definitely would go back to the well if you're playing anywhere above 3 teams in general tonight. If you're like a 20 max or 150 max type player, definitely get some Gary Trent in your lineups. Also, Washington versus the LA Clippers. This is the last game of the night. LA Clippers are 11.5-point favorites. Over under here is 234. It's really hard to address this team on a back-to-back without this Russell Westbrook news for the Wizards. I don't think we're going to get that news before lock. We'll either get it in the middle of the day or an hour before the game starts or half an hour before the game starts. So if you want to backload a couple of your teams, I could definitely see playing that scenario. But man, I feel like I'm gonna get burned by this team. I played Washington last night against the LA Lakers, and that really worked out. I talked about that on the video of how I was gonna play like the last 3 games of the night, and that turned out to be my best lineup. But man, this Washington LA Clippers game doesn't really seem like a game that gives me the warm and fuzzies. I feel like Washington, they're on a 5-game win streak, and they've been overperforming, and the Clippers have been underperforming. So I feel like this 11.5-point favorite for the Clippers kind of seems a bit reasonable, and I think the Clippers can easily blow this game out. And if this game blows out, the only person that I can see really being relevant or being close to hitting value in this game is Paul George from the LA Clippers side of the ball. But overall, though, that's my thought process throughout this slate. If you want to hit me up, talk about the slate and stuff like that, see where I'm playing or who I have other convictions on, you can find me over on Twitter at Getting Bills. Have a safe, blessed Tuesday. I'm about to head on out of here. See you guys.